Good morning. I hope everybody had a good night. I just want to cover some basics with you. A lot of my understanding and a lot of the things that I believe, I have come to by what I consider simple logic, or God gave it to me actually, because He gave me the sight to see it. But your life, whatever life you're living, only amounts to you. The only thing you can get out of it really is your feelings. You can get material things like that, but they only amount to what they make you feel, or they allow you to feel. They don't make you feel anything. Your feelings come by your choice. You choose what you're going to think of as good. Your choice is what you're going to think of as evil. It's all your choice. You get to decide what you think, and therefore what you think is what's going to be your basis for feelings. This can be a good thing because it gives you dominion over your world. God gave it to every man. You get to choose these things. The question is, what do you believe in? Do you believe in what other men tell you, or do you believe in what you feel? Other men can tell you something's going to be really good, and then when you get there, it's going to be miserable. Believing in what other people tell you is not necessarily the truth or good. I have tried to tell you very simply that good always leads to more. Evil divides, it separates. That's what it does. That's why it exists. It exists so that you can define anything the way you want to define it. The problem is most people don't allow everything to exist. They want to deny things. But that's the original reasoning that the serpent used with Adam and Eve. If you do this, you'll be like gods, because you can define anything. He told them that they would be like God. And to a degree, they are in their life. But that's because they were all part of God. And everything works the same way. If you do good, it leads to better feelings, more of everything. If you do evil, you separate it, you divide it. I am not a big fan of a lot of things, I guess, when it comes to organized religion, because most religious groups separate everybody who's not a part of that group, and they condemn them, or they don't want to see them do good. That's why I think, no, God is the Father of all of us. We may not understand each other. We may not like what each other thinks. But each person was given the right to think what they want to think. So the question is what you think and what you do good? Really good for everybody, not just for some. Just because somebody doesn't believe the way you believe does not give you the right to condemn them. If they do things by their own that violate the law of the land, that violate your rights, your given abilities, then get away from them. Get away from them. If they judge themselves as worthy of doing violence, you can do violence to them because they judge themselves worthy of it, but not because you thought they needed it. There's a difference. Differences are subtle sometimes, but there's a definite difference. You have no right to judge another person. You have every right to hold them accountable to how they judge themselves, because the way they judge themselves is what's going to lead to whatever's going to happen. You take radical Islam. God loves all of us. God is God. They understand God is God, but they follow what men said. They don't listen to God. They don't think of God as being the Father of all, and that therefore everybody has the rights. They think if you don't agree with the way they see things, that you need to die. That's men. That's how men think. That's not how God thinks. God doesn't need that. He doesn't need you. He wants you to do well. He wants you to enjoy life. He gave life to you for one reason, because you can make it better. And the only way to make it better is by sharing it with one another. You can't give them feelings. You can't take feelings from them. But when you share the feelings that you have and they have, they get increased. They get intensified. They get magnified. They get better, bigger, greater. That's what God gave you. You have the ability to do that. Or you have the ability to waste it and throw it away. That's how you can tell what's of man and what's of God. What's of God will always lead to more. What's of man, it'll always divide. It'll always separate. It'll always destroy. That's what we do. Because we want to be like God. That's what Adam and Eve was the original problem. The serpent told them, eat this and you'll be like God. Well, don't do it. Understand what it is. You are part of God. God loves you. Each person is like a cell in the body of God. That's where they started. That's where they end up. The question is, are you doing what each cell needs to do? You take cells in your body, as long as they work for the good of the whole body, then your body is healthy and you're fine. But when cells start thinking they're going to do something else that they were never intended to do, then they become a mass. And that mass is cancer. If you don't remove it, it'll kill you. Well, we're the rest of the body. And when people try to harm one another or harm each other, then we have to switch into our protective mode and remove those cells that harm the body. Not because we want to, not because we chose them to do bad, but they chose it. If you look at life that way, I think you'll see a lot of things that are going on around us that are horrible. You take all this build up to violence in our political system in the United States. You've got total idiots out there thinking that they're so right that they demand everybody to be exactly like them, or they're going to physically create problems. Well, the country won't last long like that. It will have to come to a civil war, simply because people are being idiots. You can't do that. God did not give you the right to do that. Instead of having reasonable discourse and reasonable understanding that God loves all of us, and that all of us have been given the right to assume for ourselves, but not for somebody else. The problem is these people have no basis. They have no faith in anything except what man tells them. And what man tells you is to separate, to divide. And that will always lead to destruction. That's what it does. But they don't understand, and they have no faith in God. They don't understand the concept of God. It's amazing to me how many people go to church and have no concept of God. I talked to priests and higher priests today, and I asked them, you know what the difference between sacrifice and mercy? And they look at you like the deer in the headlights. They have no idea. And then when you say, you know, the one thing Jesus told the Pharisees and the Sadducees, he said, I'll tell you where my authority comes from. Answer this. I require mercy. I do not require sacrifice. If you knew the difference, you would know where my authority comes from. In that statement, he basically told you everything you'd ever need to know. But they didn't understand, and they did not know the difference. That's what this is all about. That's what I talk about, is the difference. Learn it. Put it in your heart. Put it in every second of every day. I love you, and I hope you have a great day. See ya. Bye.